I'm not pushing the structure of this. I say it happens. I say that there will be 10 families. It could even be churches. Each individual church will hover together. I mean, if we have total collapse, like they say will happen, if Putin has his way over there, listen, what's happening over there right now, folks, is something like we have never seen. We're seeing China, the United States, Russia, and Iran, and Israel being the odd man out. My wife and I were sitting watching Bibi Netanyahu today, and she said, I like him. Well, no, you got to understand, my wife, God bless her, I love her to death, and she was really jealous of you folks for a very long time. And I'm going to tell you, she's come to a couple of meetings, and she understands the passion now. She understood because she was jealous of it. She knew me when I was young. She knew me when this passion was going toward preaching the gospel. I thought at one time I was called to preach. I was wrong about that, by the way. It was the best decision I ever made for the church that I may have had, that I decided not to go into preaching because I wasn't called by God, I was called by a person. But my wife understood that passion. She's very jealous of it, but now she understands why I'm so passionate. She said, and she looked at that man, and she said, I like him. And my goodness, what he's saying. There is consequence, folks, to what's going on in the world today, and we can no longer deny that it may have a severe consequence for us if we don't understand what's coming. There is no way. What Tammy was presenting here tonight with Common Core, this is where they think we have to go. Once this dollar collapses and we go into this one government for the entire world, we have to have that one religion and we have to have that one currency. And this currency, the convulsion of collapse of the petrodollar is something that our grandchildren are going to have to deal with. And we better come to grips with it. And I'm only trying to, I don't know what you want to call me, but I'm not getting off this message so long as I see the Johnnies that we bring home. Because it makes me angry that we send them under another mission that they don't understand. Tell us the truth, we can understand, we can handle the truth. And we will send them there to take care of business because we have the strongest, the mightiest, and the best military in the history of the entire world. And if we commission them in the right way, they will go. Get the job done. Even in Syria right now, Putin is afraid that we remember our passion as a country. He doesn't want that to happen. And again, Carly is right when she says we need to send him the message that we're not afraid to fight him. He just needs to know that we're not afraid. And he won't get that figured out till we have a new president. I will close with this. Support, Joe has a question. I will entertain questions. But so let me say this first, Joe. Support who you will. I won't criticize you. If it wasn't for Carly, it would be Rand Paul. But here's the thing, as far as I'm concerned. Here's the thing I'm telling you about why I'm choosing Carly. It has nothing to do with where where his polls are right now. Carly Fiorina, did I get it right? Fiorina. Carly, I'll never get it right. Carly is the only one, I'm pragmatic. She doesn't offend me in any of her policies. I don't have a problem with anything she says. She is the only one, folks, that I believe can keep us out of the 12th Amendment. With that scenario I talked about earlier, the nightmare on Elm Street. Because if we don't have somebody who wins big over Hillary, because I honestly believe that they're going to nominate Hillary Clinton, the voting electorate in the Democrat Party is going to willingly suspend their disbelief, and they will not, by the way, prosecute this woman until the elections are over.
Yeah, that's right.
This will not happen. She will be nominated, and she will get the protection of executive privilege. I will guarantee you that. And if it's because that she has the goods on a lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats, I think that's the reason she's going to get it. And I think that's the reason, folks, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I think it's the reason that we have such confliction in our party, our established party on both sides of the aisle. They know that they have to give Hillary the protection of the office that Bill Clinton had for those years that he had protection from Mena, Arkansas. All those crimes that they did in Mena, Arkansas, he was able to escape because of executive privilege. And I think right now they're manipulating that. Carly is the only one, I think, that can win big enough against Hillary Clinton to keep this election out of the 12th Amendment. Denise is going to speak.
No, that. I'm actually going to agree with you, Dennis. I don't know if you all know that a couple weeks ago that Michigan Republican conference up in Mackinac Island, I was blessed to be able to afford to go to that for the first and probably last time because it was very expensive. But Carly spoke at the Saturday night dinner there along with Rand Paul, who followed her. After that dinner was over, and there were 6 candidates there that were running for president, and Carly was the last person to speak, she was the last person to speak. Her and Rand Paul spoke on Saturday night for dinner. After that dinner was over, I went and positioned myself out in the hallway outside of that dining room, and I asked people from all different aspects of Republican, conservatives, whatever, including Dave Agema and Ron Romney and at least 40 other people, Tea Party people, conservatives that I knew weren't Tea Party, just a mixture of folks. I asked them who they thought the best speaker of the entire conference was, and 100% of them said Carly Fiorina. So that says a lot right there. And yeah, it was amazing. Not one person said any of the other names besides her. She had over 300 people waiting for her at the ferry dock when she came over from the city onto the island. It was crazy. I went into 2 different places after that where she was speaking before the dinner, and it was mass chaos. It was crazy how many people were there in support of her. And I just want to say, everything that I heard her say, I back her as well. I think she's a great candidate. If she does not make the nomination, I'm hoping whoever does brings her along as their vice president, because I'll tell you what, I think she's a barracuda when she needs to be, but she's so friendly, and she was signing autographs and all kinds of stuff. And she's a very one-on-one person. You can go right up to her. She's just that kind of a person. But when she was in those debates, she was fierce. And I'll tell you what, that's what we're going to need. We have somebody like that that's debating Hillary or whoever is on the Democrat side. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that.
Okay, Joe has a question.
Denise.
She is fierce. She really is.
Denise.
Yes.
It's on. It's on.
How was it that Rand Paul won the straw poll? And
Rand Paul had he had a whole bunch of young Campaign for Liberty or.
It's a good
Rand Paul
tactic, and they do win the straw polls everywhere they go.
Comment, yeah.
Tony's
They
going to have a
always
comment
do.
on
She
this.
came in second.
Hang on.
But it goes without saying that Carly really does her homework. I'll give her that one.
She does. She knows what she's talking about.
And Dennis, in regards to this 10 circles of 10 we keep talking about, I've been trying to get across that we need to start coordinating this now, because if we wait till after the bottom falls out, things are going to be kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. They will be, but people will be highly motivated. You will not have to convince anybody.
And then everybody that's involved is going to have to bring something to the table. And
That's true.
That's going to take time to figure out.
But all I'm trying to do right now is get folks like you and other people who are here thinking about it. Now I want the mic to go over to Tony. Bill.
Thank you. Just to make it clear, Campaign for Liberty did not organize anybody to go there. We don't get involved in that stuff.
Was Campaign for Liberty name mentioned? Did Denise mention Campaign for Liberty? I don't think she did.
There was a whole bunch of young people in Campaign.
They were libertarian.
Libertarians, yeah.
Yeah.
But and they like Rand Paul.
I bet a lot of Ron Paul supporters.
Ron Paul, yeah.
They did. They showed up Saturday morning for the day, and then they voted the straw poll, and they went back.
And I got to tell you, I like Rand Paul for the same reasons they like him.
I mean,
And I like that
I
person.
don't think it's a negative that college kids and high school kids and that kind of stuff.
It is not a negative.
Head all the way up to Mackinac.
It is just not enough.
It should be looked at as a negative, and I kind of felt like that was portrayed as a negative.
The news media does paint it that
I'm
way.
not saying that's what you meant.
We're not saying that, Tony, believe me.
No, I'm not, that's not what
It's
I
not a
meant at
negative.
all.
Yeah,
And we're not dissing Rand Paul. You know, I had a conversation with you a couple of weeks ago when Ted Cruz violated the concepts of the Constitution. I called you and I said this would be an excellent opportunity for Rand Paul to get a step up because Rand Paul had not yet authorized the Pacific Trade Agreement. But he too did vote for it.
Yeah, that's
Well,
scary.
I think,
Eventually.
I think you folks should look into the arena's connection to Planned Parenthood and abortions, and I think we should look into her connections to Tom Cole.
Well, I will challenge people to do that also, and I'll let Denise respond to that. But it's just like I talked to a very well-to-do millionaire, won't mention his name. He said, Dennis, you're not going to talk me into liking Furiana because, did I say it wrong again? Carly. See, if I ever do get her here, I'm going to offend her.
Stick with Carly.
I heart Carly. I was talking to him. He says, I'll never support her. I had stock in HP. And I'm going to tell you that, okay, she had some failings. You know what?
She did not.
The point is this, you can't take those in a vacuum. And she can defend them, but what I'm telling you is that even if they were, well, I'm just telling you that, okay, disagree with me if you want. The perception and the accusation is that Carly had some failings with HP. But I'm okay with that. That doesn't exclude her from being my candidate because I don't know of any great leader in the world who hasn't had failings. Now, you can't take it in a vacuum. There was the Silicon Valley thing going on, and all I'm saying is, unless you want to just make politics out of it, you need to consider all things. Same with Rand Paul. Same with Rand Paul. But my heart was sort of quieted a little bit on Rand when he supported the Pacific Trade Agreement, and I remember his words to Sean Hannity, and they were this. Sean Hannity asked him, why did you allow this to come out of the Senate of advice and consent? And Rand Paul said this, and the same Ted Cruz said it was the reason I called Tony and I wanted to support Rand. Before I realized this 9 months here on Elm Street could happen if we don't win big with some candidate. But Rand said, well, depends on how you want to look at it. Obama's just going to call it an agreement, even if we pull the constitutional string of advice and consent. But here's where Rand misses the point. I'm going to tell you. Here's where Ted Cruz misses the point. And I'm going to say they touched the third rail as far as my support goes. I don't support them anymore. The Constitution says that they shall have advice and consent. It's a very big word. Without it, it's not a law. It's not a law. An international agreement cannot, and listen, we were okay with it when Bush did it with the Security and Prosperity Agreement, right? We thought the Republican doing it, it's okay. No, it wasn't okay then because what that brought was NAFTA. And the Pacific Trade Agreement is NAFTA on steroids, folks. And we allowed, the people we sent up there worked hard to get elected. Ted Cruz, God bless him. God bless Rand Paul, but they failed this test. They failed it. Carly said she didn't support it, but she didn't support it for the reason I wanted her not to support it. She didn't call out the advice and consent clause of the Constitution. I'm a constitutional conservative, folks. And when Rand said that he will just call it an agreement and then he will pass it anyway, I'm saying, man, that is not someone I want interpreting the Constitution for me, because this drywall guy sees how the wording is that the Founding Fathers' intent said, that they shall have advice and consent, and without that it cannot be called a treaty. And you cannot negotiate a president nor a governor with Canada for a bridge international crossing, because it crosses an international boundary. That is a treaty, but according to Black's Law, what sits right beside the treasonous Supreme Court, we know that what they're doing, but still yet, the next president can say that agreement is null and void because it never got advice and consent. It's done. And that's what the next president will do. I'm wondering what Ted Cruz would do, and I'm wondering what Rand would do. If it was that they became president, would they say this is an enforceable treaty because it is a treaty? They took it from 67 votes. And Tony, you need to understand my position on this. Rand and Ted Cruz both now, I didn't know about Rand, but they did. They allowed it to come from 67 votes for advice and consent with the Corker Agreement and with the thing that Ted Cruz voted for to bring it out of that 67 threshold down to a 51 simple majority vote to pass it. And Ted allowed it. He voted for it to come out of committee. When it got down to the floor, he has a plausible reasonality. I voted against it, but it's just like Al Gore. He was for it before he was against it. He could have stopped it, or he could have influenced the stop in committee. We would not have to deal with, and I'm going to tell you, you do not know what you're dealing with that Pacific Trade Agreement. And that's why I wrote the piece that says Ted and Nancy's Excellent Adventure. If you want to read it, go on DLM report, and it's on there. And I called Ted Cruz out because he said we've got to pass it without reading it. That's the same thing that Nancy said. And I'm not having it. I'm sorry, I'm not having it. I was a Ted Cruz supporter, not. I'm calling him out. I'm openly calling him out. Joe, you again?
I heard some disparaging things about Carly and her time at Hewlett Packard.
Yeah.
And that
we could be here all night. I think I want to close, but it's fair. It's fair
I
enough.
want to comment on that.
It's fair enough.
According to Professor Kaufman, who spoke here a couple of weeks ago, he wouldn't support her.
But you know he's not right about everything.
Well, right. but because it was because of her that Hewlett Packard went to China. I don't know if there's any truth to that.
What? Okay, it wasn't because of her that General Motors went to China. Come on, let's call this straight. Let's call this straight as it is. She's been accused of selling computer parts to Iran. Now let's break that down, okay? The accusation of people that are going to accuse Carly of selling parts for Hewlett Packard to Iran. No, she didn't sell parts to Iran. And nobody will break that down and look at it. What she sold parts to was to a country that sold them to Iran. Now, are we going to hold her accountable for that? You better not, because if you do, you're going to have to hold an awful lot of corporations. Guess what vehicles that the Al-Qaeda and ISIS was driving, killing Christians over there? Guess what vehicles that was? Toyotas. Where's the outcry? If you're going to call Carly out on selling computer parts to a third party that sold them to Iran, that's called capitalism, folks.
That's right.
If you want to become communists and telling people where they can go with a free, fair market, I'm for fair trade between countries and free markets within this country. We can't have the free trade that NAFTA and GATT calls for. It's detrimental. Romney was right about this, no matter how you feel. We have to have a fair trade. We have to have a currency manipulation consequence for countries who will manipulate their currencies. That's what's happening with the downfall. Now somebody had their hand up. You have another question? Go ahead, Todd.
I was going to get the mic.
Oh yeah, get the mic. So I lied. I said we was going to get out here 22. I'm sorry.
This
is
I really
important
respect
stuff.
your opinion.
It's not on.
Just hold it closer to your mouth. It is on.
There you go.
Dennis, I really respect your opinion on a lot of things, and I respect your how you like her and everything, but there's so much stuff that I dug up on her on just one night that, you know, the parachute for 65 million or 100 million before she left, her being a homewrecker with her current husband, she lost a stepdaughter to drugs, to suicide.
That's her fault.
Well, she claims that she helped raise his daughter, so it's just, you know, how dirty politics are going. And
well, that's dirty politics right there. Now, it's okay. I understand the accusation that she may have been a homewrecker, but let's call that standard to a whole lot of other people. I mean, Washington's going to be vacant.
Come on.
I know we know one another.
Okay, but go ahead. Go ahead. We're okay.
I'm just letting you know what she's.
Well, the parachute. The parachute was a capitalist notion. She negotiated that before she came. They thought she was worth that. And if you want to say that she wasn't, fine, but don't criticize her for having it.
I'm just seeing what America's.
Well, that doesn't mean that she doesn't qualify to be a good president and keep us out of the 12th Amendment. You better consider why you don't like her. I love Ben Carson. You got to understand this, folks. I love Ben Carson. I like Rand Paul. Some people don't agree with me. I do not respect Donald Trump. And the reason is, the first time he came out and he did this. Let me get this for the camera. He hugged the flag. He said he did the heart thing. He pointed at it and said, "I love the flag." You know, and I didn't like that. that was using the flag for a prop. I say pledge to that flag, and I think of the people who fell in favor of it every time. I don't think he was then. I think Donald Trump was thinking of Donald Trump when he hugged that flag. But the thing that really bothers me about Donald Trump, and I want everybody to hear this, only till he went to the values conference and the Christian Liberty School down there, when he spoke there, did he bring his Bible out as a prop. Now, I'm not a Bible scholar, folks, but I am a Christian, and I have spent some time in the Bible. Not enough, but I know that you don't use the Bible for a prop to get elected. I would have respected him more had he brought that out in Texas, had he brought the Bible out in New Hampshire, had he brought the Bible out and said, this is my favorite book, when he wasn't in front of that Christian Coalition crowd. I don't like that. Now, there's already suspicions I had with Donald Trump, but I'm going to tell you, he has peaked. And we will see if he is the Pied Piper who I think he is, and I think he will generate an issue. And I'm sorry for folks who don't agree with me on this. I know there's folks who love Donald Trump. This millionaire friend of mine loves Donald Trump, and he hates Carly because of the reason you said. And he's wrong. I believe. No, it's what you said, and it's okay. Don't necessarily say that you believe it. It's a good conversation. Okay, Denise wants to say something. But the consequence of not winning big against Hillary or even Joe Biden, the consequence of not winning big is huge. Carly's positives, likability against Joe Biden, are the highest of any candidate. What that means is she's got room to grow in the polls. They explain this very carefully. There's nobody who has higher likabilities than Carly Fiorina against... I'll never get it right. It's just like how long it took me to get your name right.
Did you get it right, Evan?
Denise Schultz.
Schultz.
See, I can't even say my own name. Okay, go ahead, please. Your name is Denise.
So, is it on? Yeah, it's on. I guess I
it's not up very loud.
Okay, I just want to say that there are a lot of good candidates that we'll have our choice of. And I just hope that everybody votes for who they think will do the best job. That being said, we have to remember that they have to then go against the Democrat Party, whoever that candidate may be. And we need somebody that's going to be strong enough to take on whoever that person might be. I love Ben Carson. I love what he stands for, but I think he's Mitt Romney. And I think that if it's Hillary, she'd choose him up and spits him out, because he's just so quiet and mild-mannered. He's just like Mitt, and I worry about that. I like most of what Ted Cruz stands for. I don't know how that's going to work out. And I like Rand Paul for a lot of the things that he stands for as well. So I'm kind of on the fence all the way around, but I'm still leaning towards Carly. She's a woman. We need a woman. And I'm telling you what, if we don't have a woman candidate, they will, and they will win. They have the first black, they're going to have the first woman. And I worry about that. And that's not a reason to vote for somebody. But as far as Carly is concerned, there's a lot of people that are going to start saying and doing things to bring her down because she's rising in the polls.
Oh yeah, they're going to attack her. But
they're going to be attacking her like crazy.
Can I make a comment
She'll
about
handle it.
that? I like her because she's a woman. And I agree with her 100%. And you can say what you want to say. I'm pragmatic. I like Carly's chances because she's a woman.
Not only that, but she's just really good. I mean,
okay, let me explain this to you.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of things I like about Carly. You got to know I said it. But because she is a woman, she will defeat Hillary in a matchup. She will defeat Biden in a matchup. But the problem is, we have to have somebody that's going to defeat them strong enough to keep us out of the 12th Amendment, because if nobody gets 270, we've lost. We have lost. And let me tell you this, Joe, you can have the mic. Bill, take the mic to Joe. If this goes into the 12th Amendment, guess who Secretary of State's going to be? if Jeb Bush is president and Hillary Clinton's vice president, who do you think Secretary of State's going to be? You got it, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. That deal is cut already. I'll guarantee you that deal is cut already.
That makes sense, Mark.
You better fear it. And maybe I'm wrong, folks. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I don't support your candidate here in what I'm saying. But I'm only asking you to consider the things I'm saying because the consequence belongs to our kids and our grandkids. Go ahead, Joe. And we got to go. It's after 11 o'clock. It's got to be short.
Yeah, what I'm kind of wondering is, do any of the Republican candidates, can they expect the same kind of broad support as Trump is getting? You know, whether you love him or hate him.
Can I answer that?
Whether you love him or hate him, Trump is bringing in not only Republicans, but independents and Democrats.
I'm going to tell you, you got to listen to me now. It's a good question, but here's the answer. Joe Burgess, the fellow that's doing this scheduling, he is a converted Democrat to conservatism. He confessed to me that there was a plan that the Democrats had, and he actually executed this plan. They crossed over and they voted for Santorum because they were afraid of Romney. I'm going to tell you that that's what he told me, and I didn't ask him to tell me that. What you're saying is you're thinking these polls actually reflect what's going to happen in a general election. And I say you're wrong. I say these polls do not reflect, these people aren't going to show up in a Democrat election. And they may not even show up in the Republican primary, because they are Democrats who want Donald Trump to say something stupid so that he can accomplish his mission as a Pied Piper. And we are authorizing it, watching it in silence if we don't speak up about it. I like what he's saying, Joe. I'm with you. Everything he says is right. I like what he said about Muslims. I'm going to send you back. He's going to send all, his plan to send the illegals back. I've got to talk to him about that.
How do we know that he's not going to attract the same Reagan Democrats
because they will stay home to vote for their Hillary.
Yep.
They're not going to cross over in a general. This has been proven to me by Joe, who told me what their strategies are. He was part of them till this caucus won him over, folks. And I want to tell anybody who's listening out there who wants to say the Tea Party's numbers are diminishing and we're going away. No, I'm sorry. Maybe the numbers are going away because we actually work and people actually have things, lives to live. And sometimes we have 15, 10 people, and my ego doesn't like it that much because they don't even hear me. No, you know what? We are getting things accomplished because we've got the conversions of Joe Burgess. And we have won him over to conservatism. Now he's having to consider the Republican Party because there's no conservatives in the Democrat Party. Joe understands the threat to the Constitution. He loves Kerry Bentivolio. He loves what's going on there, and he's dedicated. That is where our pay dirt is. We're not going away. And if we cannot understand the threat that I believe only Carly can fix, because I think she's the only one that can win big enough to keep us out of the 12th Amendment. Denise, go ahead. This is going to be the last question.
Just one last comment about Mackinac. Those people that I interviewed coming out of dinner and the whole next morning when I was at breakfast, they came from all across the spectrum of the Republican Party. Republican Party, Tea Party, I don't care who, anybody but, independents, anybody but Democrats, because there weren't any up there. But I'm just saying, I think Carly is the person that can bring all of the factions, Campaign for Liberty and traditional Republicans and Tea Party and everybody together on the same page behind a candidate, because I interviewed people from all of those different groups and they all like Carly. So if she's the person that can finally bring this group of people that we call Republicans or whatever all together on the same page behind a candidate, that's what we need to do to win next year. And that's my last comment.
I got a question for you.
No back and forth question right now. We're not going to do that. We're going to close, and I'm going to close with this comment. And we're going to close. You can have the discussion with her.
I'm ready for it.
Carly did something with Donald Trump that I never saw Mitt Romney do. You guys know that I supported Mitt. I even called and tried to get him back in the race to actually show what's happening in the Republican Party.
He was right on everything.
He was right on all this. He was right about Putin, but there was a thing that he lacked. Donald Trump's right about it. He couldn't close the deal. You know why he couldn't close the deal? I saw something in Carly that will cause her to be able to close the deal. Because when Donald Trump attacked her, when Donald Junk,
Junk.
I don't know where
She
it comes
put him in his place.
Oh, yeah.
she
She did not
was
back down.
the person that Mitt Romney had to be, and he could have won that election, even though we had differences. Carly is the person that Mitt Romney had to be. When I saw her stand up to Donald Trump, and everybody else is afraid to, you got to know this, right? Don't tell me we're going to send a woman to do a man's job. She is doing it already. She's not afraid of Donald Trump.
Or anybody else.
I am seriously asking you to only consider the consequence if we go into the 12th Amendment. It is a huge probability. Thanks for coming out tonight. Good night, folks.